Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you? It's a beautiful Sunday out. I hope that you are doing well in your part of the world. Really nice to see everybody. Really great to be back with all of you. I really enjoy doing these streams for all of you. So I always look forward to Sundays and Thursdays when I do these streams. So it's a great day out. I've had my coffee. I've had my breakfast. I'm ready to go. Excited to be here today. I hope you're excited too. So you guys know how we start off. We start off with our global roll call. And we also, as I said last time, we have the chat windows that are now up and running and looking great. So as soon as we get somebody chatting, you'll see the window refresh over here, over my shoulder, where we can see each other's chats across all of the platforms. I'm pushing out on 5 different platforms right now. So again, you guys know how we start. Global roll call. Let me know what city, state, province, country you're from. I love to hear about it. I love to see how global data science is. And also, you never know what communities this could lead to, or people you meet, or things along those lines, right? We can already see some of our chats going up. We have our first YouTube joiner, so thanks a lot, YouTube, for joining in. I love seeing more participation across the platforms. Obviously, Instagram is a great supporter, but love to see YouTube, and maybe we'll even get some LinkedIn people today. Who knows? I'm pushing out on all the platforms, so I'm really happy with the way the chat and the production is working out. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any feedback for me, I'm trying to make these streams and really all of my content as good as I can. So please let me know if there's any feedback. So yeah, please don't be shy. Please go ahead and tell me where you're from while I'm waiting for that. And by the way, after we do the global roll call, we'll get to questions. I always love answering your questions, and I really feel guilty when we run out of time. So we'll try to get to all the questions today. So I wanted to start with an opening note, as I always do. And there's so many opening notes I want to share with you guys that I kind of almost have trouble picking some. But what I thought I wanted to share to you today is that I keep on emphasizing about, if you want to be a data scientist, then just go and do it. Be a data scientist. And some people are coming back to me and saying, okay, well, how do I do that? The simplest way I can help you get started in that is to think about the way that you approach the world, and how you think about the different things in your life, the different numbers, the different pieces of data in your life. One of the things that I really enjoyed about studying applied statistics, because that's what I studied at the graduate level, is that you learn that numbers don't live alone, right? Numbers are part of ranges. Numbers are relative to each other. Numbers can change over time. So try to incorporate that into your daily thinking. When somebody gives you a number, don't just accept the number. Ask about the ranges. What's the high? What's the low? Is this number good? Is this number bad? How is it relative to other values? Or when you start thinking about the results you're getting in life, not just in algorithms or your models, but in life, right? One of the things you're going to learn as a data scientist, as a practitioner, a data scientist, in the corporate world, is algorithms are not perfect. They're going to make mistakes. What is that? Well, the statistics term is variance. So do you think about variance in your life? Maybe about your bills, like if you think about like your electricity bill can vary over months, right? So I want you to start thinking about that as far as the variance in your bills, or in your spending, or in the trips you take, or different things in your life, right? Was it positive variance? Was it negative variance? What caused that variance, right? Or one of the books I recommend is called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, where, she emphasizes how just because you had a negative result doesn't mean you had a bad process, right? And if you had a negative result, that's okay. That's negative variance, right? So I want you to just kind of start thinking about these things in life, not even about like, work related or getting ready for an interview. Just think about it in your life. Because to me, these are the things that ultimately make you a better data scientist. The reason I'm kind of, focusing on this is because, these are the things that are going to come across in an interview, right? If you've taken a consistent numerical or data science approach to not just to your work, but to your life also, those are the small intangibles that come across in an interview. Because really, when it comes to interviews, what you really want to do is you want to make yourself stand out, right? You want to make sure that you're standing out as much as you can among the other candidates. Because for me, as a hiring manager, I may interview a lot of people for a position, right? I may interview 20, 30 people for a position. And from that, I've read maybe, 70 resumes to get to those 20 people I want to interview, right? Or many of you ask about internships. The last time I ran a table at a career fair, at a college, I collected 120, 130 resumes. So it's all about standing out, right? And it's those small intangibles, how you carry yourself, how you talk, the terminology, the vocabulary that you use, that's going to really help you stand out in those interviews, in those conversations to get that next position, right? So are you using the vocabulary of a data scientist? Are you thinking like a data scientist in your daily life? So happy to share that opening note with you. If you guys have questions on that or want to hear more on those types of topics, please let me know. I would love to kind of expand on some of these things. That's kind of why I share these things with you. But, otherwise, happy to go through the roll call here. I see that we have a few people already checking in, which I love. And, just hopefully, the opening note kind of, gets some things going in your mind. But happy to be here with you guys and answer any questions you might have. So let me get to the roll call, because I also want to keep on working with my functionality here on being able to highlight chats. So you guys should be seeing the chat right below. So no matter what platform people check in on, I'll be able to display the chat so that everybody can see it. So our first message this morning is from Prince Kara. Hi from Birmingham, UK. Hey, good morning to you. Well, I guess it's not morning there, is it? It's actually quite late. It's morning for me, but it's actually, I think, quite late for most of the world. I try to pick a time that helps as many time zones as possible. But yeah, I guess it's actually evening for you in Birmingham. But I think you've been on the chat on the streams before, so thanks for coming back. I think I shared that I've been to Birmingham, but yeah, welcome. Next one we have Kobina Abin, also a great supporter of the stream. Good to see you again, my friend. Hey from Ghana. Well, good morning. How are things in Ghana? I think it's even later in Ghana than it is in Birmingham. But glad to see that you're joining us. Thanks a lot, my friend. Eric Falander says hi from Germany. Well, hello. What part of Germany? Germany's a big country, right? But I'm glad to see you here. I get a lot of viewers from Western Europe, so happy to see Germany also attending. So guys, if you're joining in a little later, because I see more joiners on the Instagram, please let us know what city and state you're from. I also see some questions coming through, which is great. We're going to keep on doing I'm going to keep on coming back to those questions, but I love starting in with the check-ins. So please, we'll finish the check-ins. So Srivali Akoju checks in from Dallas. Oh, well, good to see you. I actually lived in Dallas for 2 years. I lived in the Irving area. So what part of Dallas are you from? Where am I from? So right now I am living in Las Vegas. I am living in the greater Las Vegas area. It's a desert community, and I love living in the desert. I've lived in desert communities in different cities for a good part of my adult life. I just like the climate, even though it's very warm, but it's also very dry. But yeah, I'm in Las Vegas. I recently moved here from New York. I was in New York for the last 2 years. Because of work and because of data science, all the great opportunities. I've moved quite a bit over the last few years. But Srivali, thank you for asking. I am currently in Las Vegas. I do have experience with Dallas. If you want to share a little bit more about where you're from or whatnot, a lot of big companies in Dallas. So I'm assuming you work for one of the tech companies out there, in the Las Colinas area or wherever. So feel free to let us know more about that. Uday Kiran GS is checking in from Chicago. Well, good morning. Good to see you. It's good to see people from the middle of the country. So Chicago is a beautiful city. I've been there a couple times. So thanks for checking in. Srivali, I'm going to come back to your question. All right, let me finish some of the roll call, folks. One more looks right. Where's Jay Haynes? I love that name. Hello from Oakland. Oh, well, hello to you too. We're actually inheriting your football team. For those of you who don't know, or maybe follow the NFL, American football, the Oakland Raiders. Actually, we're actually getting two teams from Oakland. Excuse me. We already got the Oakland Raiders. We got them a few years ago, and then we are also getting the Oakland A's, the baseball team. I think this year is their last year officially in Oakland, and then they're going to be in other cities for a couple of years while Las Vegas builds a stadium, and then the Oakland A's will become the Las Vegas A's, and they will be playing here. So that's actually the second sports team from Oakland that has moved to Las Vegas. But good to see you checking in. Oakland is a very big city, and I've actually done a couple contracts in Oakland. I did a couple contracts out in Pleasanton, which I know isn't Oakland proper, but close enough. But good to see you. Thanks for joining. So Kobina Abid says Ghana is all right. It's 3 p.m. here. Okay, that's not too late. So it's the middle of the afternoon. You're watching a stream on a slow Sunday afternoon. I like that. So thanks for checking in. Thanks for checking in from Ghana. Okay, I think that's the last for the global check-in. Anybody else joining in, please feel free to let me know where you're from. Love to see it. All right, so let me go back to Srivali. Srivali says, I want to work in computer vision. Okay, cool. Big field. What part of computer vision? There's a lot to it, right? And there's also a couple of dominant libraries that you're going to want to become extremely familiar with, right? I think it's called OpenCV. Somebody can correct me on that in the chat, but I think OpenCV is the big library for computer vision. Yeah. But let me know what part of computer vision you want to join in. Lots of interesting things happening in there, right? I think the latest development that I was, kind of keeping an eye on is, have you guys heard about this software called Glaze? So Glaze is really interesting. It's being offered to artists, and it's something that you run, if you're an artist, like a digital artist or a photographer, you take your original works and you run it through Glaze, and Glaze jumbles up enough of the bytes in the code to still keep your work intact, but to make it not scannable, or to make it non-usable by Gen AI crawlers. So I'm not intimately familiar on like the inner workings of it, but it's basically an anti-Gen AI tool, and I think it's the first one of its kind. I had done a piece of content about this. The artists call it the poison pixels that they can add, and Glaze basically does that for you. It's kind of like a filter you run all of your works through, and it'll prevent Gen AI from doing it. So I think it's the first like official, consumer anti-Gen AI tool that's available. So is that the kind of stuff you want to do, Srivali? Let me know. Let me know what kind of computer vision stuff you're talking about. Let's go back to Manjit. Hey Manjit, good to see you. Manjit's a great supporter of the channel, so thanks a lot for being here, my friend. Hope you're well. Hey Dennis, hope you're doing great. I am, thank you. I feel really energetic. I had my coffee today, so it's a beautiful day out. The weather was nice, had a great walk, so I'm feeling great. So thank you for asking. Love your glasses. Yes, this is the first stream I really any content that I'm doing with my glasses, so thank you for that, and it's good of you to notice. But yeah, I usually wear contact lenses, but I decided to just do something different and wear my glasses today. But yeah, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're well. Prince Kara, who was checking in from Birmingham, says, yes, enjoyed your stream last time, so joined again this time. It's 4:15 p.m. here. Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try with these streams, this streaming is such a weird thing because, as I've said before, I'm here alone, right? I mean, I know it feels like we're here in a community and it's good to see people joining in real time, and I get feedback from you guys. But at the end of the day, I'm just sitting here in front of talking into an iPhone. So, it's fun, but I hope you guys are getting something out of it too. But thank you so much for that. Glad to see that you joined us again. 4:15 is a nice little afternoon time for you. Watch a stream before your evening activity. So thanks for being here. Sarthak Methania. Sarthak, I don't think I saw where you were from. Oh, and by the way, that's it looks like you're joining us in from X, which is great. I would love to see more X people joining in on the stream. I know that people watch me on X, but they rarely participate. At least that's what my analytics say. So thanks a lot, Sarthak, for joining in. And I hope you guys can see that the little icon next to the names indicates where people are joining in from, right? So you can see these little icons. So good to see more people from X. So Sarthak, can you suggest some great projects for deep learning so recruiters are really impressed, please? Ooh, Sarthak, thank you for the question. And I'm going to kind of push this back a little bit. I'm going to push this back a little bit on you because there's kind of two things that are two things that are popping out at me in your statements. Okay. So first of all, your purpose, your goal. Excuse me, got to adjust my hair there. Oof, looks terrible. Your goal shouldn't be to impress recruiters. Your goal should be to become a data scientist, right? That should be the goal because that's what will lead to the jobs, right? And I got to tell you guys, I kind of hone in on this, and I'm not trying to pick on you, Sarthik, but I'm just trying to share my thoughts and my process here. One of my pet peeves, one of the things that really frustrates me, is when I'm on LinkedIn or some other source, and you come across these top 10 ways to hack the data science interview, or the cheat sheet for the data science interview questions. That's not the point, right? If you're doing that, you've already lost, right? The goal is not to impress recruiters or to hack the interview. The goal is to be a data scientist. That's what you should be pursuing. You should be pursuing that because that's what it will get you those jobs. Again, kind of going back to my opening note, it's about how you carry yourself, how you talk, the vocabulary, the way you see the world, right? And then the second part, kind of adding on to that, and that catches my attention, is that I've done a whole video on this about the creativity in data science, right? The creativity of how you view data, how you can transform it, how you can wrangle in different pieces, how you can take like something you see and then make and model that into something that a math formula can understand, right? Because the world doesn't understand things, it understands, data science doesn't understand the world, data science understands numbers, right? So you got to develop that creativity, right? So that's a valuable skill in data science. You're going to need that no matter what you end up doing. So I put that back on you because if you don't have the creativity to come up with your own project, then is data science for you, right? So I'm saying that in a general sense, right? I'm not aiming that sentence at anybody in particular, but I think you'd have to ask yourself that, right? Like, wait a minute, if I can't sit here and come up with my own project, then maybe data science isn't my ideal field, right? So take the time to think about that, right? Because you shouldn't be trying to impress recruiters or anybody else. You should be trying to become a data scientist. And being part of a data scientist is being creative enough to come up with your own projects, right? So the only like hints I'm able to give in these types of situations is what I've mentioned before, right? Like, there's data out there. Every country in the world produces a report on rice, right? Every country in the world cares about the production and pricing of rice. So go out and find that and do something with that, right? So that's as much direction as I'm willing to give you, because you should be able to have that creativity to say, oh, okay, yeah, if I take this report and I get this piece of data and I read it and why didn't they test this? Oh wait, let me test that. That's my hypothesis now. Okay, what are the tests I need for that hypothesis? Oh, okay, yeah, I need these 3 tests. What's the code for that? Well, let me go build that code, right? And now you're doing data science, right? Now you are working in a way that's going to lead to those jobs, right? It's not going to lead to impressing anybody. It's going to lead to you actually being a data scientist and being those jobs. Okay, so StarTech, I appreciate the question. Like I said, I'm going to give you a little bit of resistance there because I think it's healthy for you to think about these things. But if you need further clarification, let me know. Okay. 6 feet underground. Welcome. Love the name. Hello from Kyrgyzstan, Bishkek. Well, welcome. Oh, excuse me, I think I mispronounced that. Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan. Okay, excuse me. Well, welcome. I think you might be our first visitor from that country. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in. You may call me Tim. I think we've called you Tim before. I think I've seen you in the other stream, so thank you for joining us again, Tim. Tim joining in from Michigan, so thanks, Tim. Nice to see you. Manjit B, thank you. It is indeed OpenCV, YOLO, and many more. YOLO, okay, I haven't heard of YOLO. I don't think I've ever actually done work in OpenCV, but YOLO, tell us more about YOLO. Anything interesting in there? But that was a reply. That was an earlier reply to Servali, I believe, who Servali was interested in computer vision. So Servali, maybe those are a couple of libraries for you to look up. I'm sorry. I think I missed a couple of messages. Sorry about that. Let me go back here. Kobina writes, I want to build a career in data science, especially in satellite data analysis. Oh, that sounds... Well, actually, let me take that back. What exactly do you mean by satellite data analysis? Because I'm imagining what I think it means, but I'm happy to be wrong on that. But Kabina, give me some clarification on exactly what that means. Would love to hear more about that. Sounds interesting, but let me know what you think. Hey, Shivam Jindal. Good to see you. Can you please share the vocabulary of data science? No, because there is no dictionary or like predefined list of that, right? Data science is too much of a dynamic field for there to be here's a list for you to read, right? That's not data science works, especially with vocabulary. It's changing all the time. It can mean different things to different people. Just like right now, our friend in Ghana said satellite data analysis. What does that mean? I think I know what that means, but you got to ask, right? That's being a data scientist, right? Data scientist ask for clarification, right? It's called validating your assumptions and, in technical scientific speak, but you got to clarify questions, right? So vocabulary can be a funny thing because it may mean something to you, but not to somebody else. So there really is. So Jindal, there is no defined list for data science vocabulary. So no, there's nothing I can really just hand over to you. You learn it by doing the work, by being in the trenches. That's when the vocabulary will come to you naturally. But, again, it's also an exercising of that, right? It's about how you do that in your daily life, right? So I'm sorry, there is no list I can hand over to you. You just kind of have to be in the trenches and the vocabulary will come naturally to you, I promise. So Uday Kiran writes, Shravali, you should start with image processing. I love it. I love the community helping each other. Yeah, and that certainly sounds like good advice. Now I'm just not educated enough on computer vision to understand the difference between computer vision and image processing. To me, those sound very similar, like they could practically be the same thing. But again, image processing and all that hasn't really been something that I've invested a lot of time in. So I'm speaking from a place of ignorance. But it sounds like good advice. So Servali, hopefully, maybe that kind of points you in the right direction. Or Servali, if you want to write more clarification on like what exactly you want to do with it, please let us know. All right. So going back to my list. Louis F.A. writes, well, Louis, did you tell us where you were from? I can't remember if you did or didn't. Feel free to tell us. Hey, would you do a master in data science? I'm just completing my bachelor. Is it worth it? Oh, You say where you're from in your message. I'm sorry. I didn't even read ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just completing my bachelor's. Is it worth it? Hello from Germany. Um, that's a good question. And that's always a hard question for me to answer, because going for a master's, I think, is a very personal decision. There can be a lot of costs involved. It kind of depends on your current situation, as far as, do you want to work a little? Maybe you want to, maybe you need to kind of help pay for college by working a couple years. So I really find it hard to give that advice, because it can just be, there's so many personal factors in there, right? So I think what I would tell you is that I think that there's a lot of value in getting a couple years of real world experience out there, not just for your personal knowledge, but for what you'll carry into the master's program. There's a lot of value in already having a couple years behind you. Now, it also it's going to depend on the program you choose and if there's a specialization with the program. But the way you do data science in academia, whether it's at the bachelor or the graduate level, is kind of different from how you'll do it in the real world, right? So I think that there could be a benefit to bachelor's, work a little bit in data science, and then go into a master's program, right? Because maybe you don't even like data science. Maybe you want to do a master's in something else, right? So I hope that helps you, Lewis. But that's kind of my thinking. But again, it's a personal situation. For me, there was a long gap between when I graduated college and when I went for graduate studies, because I graduated at a time when the job market was very strong. I was making a good living from basically from the very beginning. So it was kind of a tough proposition for me to stop that and then go pay $40,000 a year, for a 2-year graduate program, and that would have been like a full-time program, right? So that was a very tough proposition for me to choose to do that, right? And that's why I resisted it for a long time. But like I said, it's a personal decision for you. But I hope that helps, Lewis. But thanks for joining. All right, let me keep going down the list here. Really good to see people coming in. I love seeing Twitter people. I love seeing some YouTube people on here. So thanks a lot for joining in, guys. Really, really glad to see it. Bilal writes Ola, but he writes that he's from India. So I love the mixing of cultures there. So Ola to you too. I speak Spanish too, but I'm not from India. But yeah, thanks for joining in, Bilal. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in your location. Again, if you're joining in late on any of the platforms, please go ahead and let me know where you're from and all that. Love to see the global community of data scientists here. Okay, so Sarthak also says that he is from India. Well, great. What part of India, Sarthak? I know India is a big and diverse country. Okay, Mark says, well, Mark, tell us where you're from. I don't think I saw that from you. I am still an undergraduate. Can you tell me how I should start? Yes, I have a whole video on this. So for anybody that's in the chat that hasn't seen my video yet, one of the very, very first things I did when I launched this channel, in fact, I think it's one of my very early postings, was I created a video guide for data science students. You're going to find it on my YouTube. It's 20 minutes long, and it basically says everything that I would do now. That also includes elements of what I did, because I've been at this a while, so my student days are long in the past. But I included the things that I did along in there and how I would do them now. So please watch that video. I even issue a coding challenge in that video if you're interested. But I get a lot of questions from students, which is great. But I also need to keep time available for my corporate clients. So that's why I created that video, so that all my student questions could go to that. But please watch it on my YouTube. I believe I call it my data science guide for students, or the data science roadmap for students, I believe is what it's called. But everything is in there as far as how I see it now in present day. And like I said, I also issue a coding challenge in there for you to kind of try to work through. but that's what I would do if I was an undergraduate. And also I'm assuming that you're not in a dedicated data science program, because otherwise, you would already know what your curriculum is. But I hope that helps, Mark. But go watch that, and I think it'll help answer your question. Sarthak says, thanks for giving me correct direction. Well, thank you too, Sarthak. Like I said, you just kind of have to put in the work to help you with that creativity, and don't try to impress recruiters. Don't try to impress your interviewer. Try to be a data scientist. And if you do that, everything will come from that. Okay? Mustafa, good to see you, my friend. I know you're also a big supporter on Instagram, so thank you so much for being here. So Mustafa says, hello from Morocco. Great. Did I ask you what part of Morocco you're from? Because I've been to Morocco a couple of times. I think you're from Rabat. Let me know. Remind me. I think you're from Rabat. But yeah, Morocco is a big, beautiful, and diverse country. So I've been there a couple of times. So thanks for joining us. Mustafa also writes, absolutely, LBD is a great way to learn. LBD are learn by doing? Or help me understand, give me the acronym. But I think LBD is learn by doing, yeah? Okay. So Kabina clarifies and says, what I mean is using data science to map and forecast for natural resources, and also to control traffic in the cities. Okay, so just to remind everybody in the chat, this is him clarifying on working with satellite data. So let me read this again. Using data science to map and forecast for natural resources, and also to control traffic in the cities. Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, chat. What do you guys think about that? If somebody wants to give their opinion on that, that's a really interesting view. I love that, Kabina. So I got to be honest with you here. The thing that pops out at me about your statements is that those are two seemingly very diverse interests, aren't they? Okay, so let's take the first one, map and forecast for natural resources. Huge field. As I think I've mentioned in some of the chats before, I've been offered jobs by mining companies. I know a lot of mining companies do this, right? Because I don't know if you guys know this, but mining companies look at pictures and soil samples for exactly what Kabina here is writing, right? Because I think they're called precursor minerals, I think is what they're called, where if they can show that so many minerals are in this plot of land, it increases the probability of other minerals being there, which makes that land more valuable, right? So they don't go looking for gold, they go looking for the precursors to gold, and then that's where they decide where to dig and all that, right? And then on top of that, they narrow it down even further on where exactly within that piece of land, where should the mine itself actually be, right? So that's exactly that's what I'm assuming you're meaning, Kabina. That's what I've seen data science used for. Lots of companies would be interested in that. So I think that's a great field for you to explore, because lots of companies around the world, lots of companies where I live are looking for that. And then the second part you write, and also to control traffic in the cities. That seems so diverse from the first part you're talking about. So is there a reason why you're looking at it at two completely different things like that? And as far as controlling traffic in the cities, that seems really interesting, but that also seems super hard. A few years ago, I worked for a company that specialized in like these big like infrastructure projects, like big road projects and like highways and like bridge overpasses, things like that. And one of the things you learn in that business is that it's so hard to implement a road or a highway or like an intersection, right? And it's hard because the city may own where the intersection is, but the lights might be managed by like a federal agency. So you need federal money from them. And then you have to meet like the national safety standards for like the road markings and like the what do you call it? The barriers on the side and all that. Like there's so many government agencies that go into making one little road. So if you're talking about wanting to control the traffic, I mean, you're going to be dealing with so much bureaucracy just to implement your projects, right? Like I know that as data scientists, maybe we don't care about like the actual like final implementation like that. But man, that's a lot of like red tape and bureaucracy and all that, right? Because just because you can say, hey, my model proves that if we build a bridge here, traffic will be reduced by 20%, right? You could have a model that says that, right? But like, do you know how long it takes to approve a bridge? Like most bridge projects are like 30-year projects, 20-year projects, right? Like from the very inception, right, to actual people using it, it's like a long time, right? So I don't know, like if that really interests you, I don't want to discourage your interest, but data science for things like that, I hope you I hope you don't like quick implementations because it's not going to be a quick implementation. But Kobina, I know I covered a lot there. If you need clarification or you want to provide more info, let me know. I love I love these two interests. You're talking about two very diverse interests. In fact, let's go back to the first one because if you're interested in working for natural resources, I'll give you something. When I was interviewing for these companies, a lot of mining companies are interested in what's known as failure prediction, right? And that's kind of becoming a little bit like a mini field in data science. But it makes sense, right? Because a lot of these companies, they will have like these remote mines like in the middle of nowhere, right? Like I think I mentioned in another stream, they wanted me to travel to Chile every 3 weeks, like to the middle of the desert in Chile, to help some of their machine learning there. But they're interested because if something fails out there, like a drill or a gear or something, it can take them months to replace it. It can take them months to replace it and also to, physically get it out there, right? So mining companies are interested a lot in being able to have algorithms that say in 3 months that machine has 90% of probability of failing, so you better start preparing now. You better start getting things out there, right? That's huge for mining companies. So if you were looking at data science to map and forecast for natural resources and failure prediction, those seem like two very correlated fields, right? But I'd love to know why you have both of those that are very diverse. So let me know. I'd be interested in hearing more about that. All right. Lewis writes, "Thank you. That's some good advice." Well, you're welcome. I try. Again, I'm just sharing my experience with you guys. Just sharing what I've experienced, and if it helps you, I'm happy. DNY Ramones, Danny Ramones. Danny, did you tell Ramones? Did you tell us where you were from? I can't remember. What do you think about BI roles? Great way to start. BI is a great way to get started in data science. Your challenge in a BI role is to make sure that you don't get pigeonholed as being the visualizations guy, right? Because I think that's the only really danger you have to look for, right? That you'll just be known as the viz guy, right? Nothing wrong with that. If you like visualizations, go for it. There's plenty of people that specialize in visualizations. There's societies for visualization specialists, huge field. So nothing wrong with that. But if you have aspirations to move further on, BI is a great way to get your foot in the door, get yourself on a team. But make sure you progress your studies. Make sure you progress the projects that you take on. The responsibilities you're willing to handle with the team and all that. So for BI, I would say you can start off with the BI role. Use more of your programming skills to build data pipelines, so that way you're like the data pipeline guy. Because that'll get you working a little bit more with code, right? Because people don't always see the code behind BI, but they can see the code behind pipelines, right? From there, you would maybe work into like a junior data scientist role, or something that's a little bit more programming oriented, right? Maybe like an analytics role, right? Or a deep analytics, advanced analytics type of role, and then kind of roll into data science and kind of keep going that way. But as far as a career progression, Ramones, I think that's a great way to start. So if that's what your current interest is and that's what you're going for, I think you're on the right track. So keep going, my friend. Shuffle writes from Morocco. I'm a big fan. Okay, so I think you maybe are was it Now I'm confused. Did you move over from Instagram to YouTube? I think you might have. Or do we have two people from Morocco on the stream? Help me clarify that, guys. Mark writes, hello from Egypt. Well, hello to you too. Glad to see you here. I've never made it to Egypt. Would love to go out there someday. But yeah, thanks for coming. I think you might be our first viewer from Egypt. I can't remember anybody else from Egypt. You know what I want to do, guys? Let me know if this interests you guys. I think I'm going to put a map on my rear wall, and I would love to put a pin every time somebody from a country visits us, because again, I love traveling. I've been fortunate to travel a big part of the world, but I think I want to put a map up and be able to say, okay, this is where we've had visitors from, because I just love seeing everybody joining in the diversity. So maybe let me know in the chat what you guys think about that. But it'd be nice to track where people are joining in from. All right, so Nick writes, hello from the UK. Well, hello to you too, Nick. Whenever I hear about the UK, I always think about Ted Lasso, and Ted Lasso has these shorts on YouTube, and there's one where he's coaching the Tottenham Hotspurs, and he says, how many countries are in this country? Right? I mean, so what part of the UK are you in, Nick? I know the UK, is a collection of countries. So what part? Let us know the city in the country. Was wondering, how do we decide to master NLP or computer vision? Ooh, gosh, you guys are asking the diverse questions today. The NLP and computer vision are so different, right? So let me know. No, you know what? This is all about you. What interests you the most, right? Like, what interests you about NLP and what interests you about computer vision, and go in that direction. Like, personally, how do I put this? I think that for NLP, some of the exciting things right now are going to be happening with the non-English languages, right? Working in LLMs, or really anything in NLP that's non-English, is going to be like super fascinating. I don't want to say too many things about this because, to protect my clients, but like working, like, have any of you guys, like, in the chat done NLP with some of like the Asian languages, like the character-based languages? Like, that's almost like a whole other exercise than doing like NLP in English or other languages, right? So I think there's a lot of interesting things in that field. But that's me. That's me expressing my interests. What are some of your interests, Nick? So let us know in the chat. Maybe you want to clarify as far as, what exactly interests you about it. So yeah, let us know. But to me, those are two very diverse fields. I think it'd be hard to master both of them. So you do have to pick one. But let me know what interests you. Mark writes, thank you. Well, thank you too, Mark. I appreciate all of you that attend and support my content. So thank you too. Okay, so Shuffle writes, yes, I'm from Rabat. Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, so it's one fan from Morocco. Okay, and from Rabat. I've never made it to Rabat. I kind of regret that. I've spent plenty of time in Casablanca, which I know is not too far from Rabat. I've spent plenty of time in other parts of Morocco, but never made it to Rabat. Maybe I'll go out there someday. I'm guessing it's pretty warm now in Rabat, but I know that it's near the ocean, so that helps and all that. Ricardo Ramon says, that's a great project. I'd love to collaborate on that satellite data project. Yeah, satellite data sounds super interesting. Yeah, so maybe Kobina will give us a little bit more info exactly on what he means. But yeah, there's a lot of demand from mining companies to do that type of work, right? Again, I think it's called the precursor minerals. But if you specialize in that, or there's definitely a demand out there for doing something like that. And personally I commend you for that, because I think that working with minerals and gemstones and natural resources, to me that's fascinating stuff. I love that stuff. I've taken like a passing interest in diamonds before, so I think it's an interesting field. So Kabina, if you want to provide more information, it looks like you have so many people there that want to maybe collaborate with you a little bit. So keep going in that direction, my friend. You're on the right track. Okay, so Mustafa writes, hi Dennis, is the EDA critical in DS project lifecycle? And if you can describe it in what word, what will it be? Yes, EDA is super critical, very easy to overlook in the process. So what if you can describe it in one word, what will it be? Knowledge. I think the word is knowledge. You're looking to build up your knowledge from the data set, right? You're looking to say, okay, well, what am I looking at? What are the ranges? What are my means? What are my standard deviations? Right? Is my data normally distributed or is it skewed in some way? Right? That's basically what you're looking to take in, just taking in the knowledge, right? And kind of correlated to that is just being able to kind of accept the data as it is, right? I always emphasize this with my teams. You have to let the data speak to you, not you speak to the data. You have to let the data speak to you. And that's what EDA does, right? EDA helps you say, okay, well, I'm going to clear my mind of any bias and I'm going to just tell me what the data says. The data says, this is the age of my buyers and this is the range. Okay, I thought our buyers were younger than that, but I guess they're not. They're this is what the mean is, right? That's what it is. You're just taking in that knowledge, right? So I hope that helps you, Mustafa. But that's how I would describe it. EDA is all about knowledge, because you might be walking into an industry or a company that you know nothing about, right? So EDA is a great way to do that, to just come in and say, okay, what's your business about? What's your company about? Let me see what the numbers tell me. Not what I think the numbers are. Not what the owner tells you, right? Because the owner has their own biases on their business and things like that, right? Let me just see what the data says. Let me build my knowledge. So great question, Mustafa. I love the question. Absolutely critical. Why I love the question, Mustafa? I love the question because you're thinking about process. You're thinking about a methodology. So yes, EDA should be part of anyone's methodology in their entire data science lifecycle. So I love that you're thinking in that direction. You're on the right track, my friend. So thanks for the question. Mike Pars writes, hi Dennis. Hi, good to see you too, Mike. Where are you from, Mike? Did we see where you're checking in from? Would love to hear where you're from. Let us know where you're from, Mike. Okay, so Frank Jade Decker. Frank, did you tell us where you were from? I think I might have missed that. I wanted to ask you about autonomous agents in regards to using multiple LLMs to assist in solving problems. Okay, cool. Let's hear more about it. What kind of questions did you have in mind for that? The first thing that comes to mind when I read a statement like that is about using the APIs, right? Because again, I'm making assumptions here, so I would love to hear your clarifications on it. But when I hear about you making an autonomous agent, you're basically making your own layer, right? The agent layer on top of multiple LLMs. So that's going to require your agent to connect to those LLMs via APIs, right? Or I think that's a safe assumption. Maybe you're thinking about something else or some other form of connection. So you're going to have to become intimately familiar with those APIs. The good news is that some of these APIs are pretty nice, right? Like I've used the OpenAI API, and that is relatively straightforward to implement, right? Compared to other APIs. So that's what I'm imagining when you're saying that. I've done a little bit of this just in my own experimentation. One of the APIs or one of the services that OpenAI offers that doesn't really get a lot of attention is that OpenAI also has this API that evaluates whether whether a piece of text has like a negative bias or hate speech or some sort of untoward message in that text. They will give you like a score to tell you whether it's good text or bad text, right? So you can sit there with OpenAI and you can make calls to those multiple APIs and really kind of like amp up your results. So I'm assuming, Frank, again, feel free to clarify my assumption, but I'm assuming that's what you mean. So that's what I would recommend to you, Frank. That you're going to have to become super familiar with the APIs of these LLMs, but it's certainly very doable. A lot of interesting things still to be done in that space. So let me know if you need any clarification on that, or if you meant something else. But I love the question, Frank. So Kabina writes, thank you so much for the advice, and of course I'm willing to cooperate to share. Willing to share while explore the two areas. Okay, great. Let us know how the two areas are related, Kabina. Would love to hear it. Okay, so Mike says, do you think certifications from AWS, Azure, Databricks still relevant nowadays? They can be, sure. I mean, depending on where you're going to go work, yeah. Also, just kind of depends on what you're learning in them. But as I've expressed before, in both my content and on some of these live streams, it's not always about the certifications, right? It's about you and your skills. So be careful about saying, well, I can't apply until I got this certification, or I really need this certification on my resume. It's not always about that, right? It's about your skills, the way you exercise the scientific method, the way you're creative with data and with modeling. That's what makes you stand out in the interviews, in the resumes, right? So again, coming back to my opening note, it's all about the vocabulary you use, the practice, the way you see things in your daily life. I got a speeding ticket today while driving. Was that bad luck, bad variance, or was I in the wrong? Did I just not pay attention because my speed was too variable? Right? That's you being a data scientist, thinking about your life, the way things go in the world, right? And I say that to you also because I say it for two reasons. One, I don't want somebody to hold themselves back just because they don't have this particular certification or whatnot. But also from a practical perspective, guess what, guys? I'm about to give you a secret here that I don't think is talked about enough, okay? There are plenty of companies and plenty of industries out there that do not, I repeat, do not use cloud services. They are all about on-premise solutions. Banks, right? If you want to go, for example, if you want to go work for a bank, most of them will look at your Amazon certification or your AWS certification and say, we don't use it. We don't use cloud. I need people that can use Linux and work on premise, right? There's a lot of companies like that out there, guys. Because of security, or because of policy, or because of federal regulation in some cases. There's plenty of people that don't use Azure, don't use AWS, right? So to those companies, they're going to look at your certification. It's going to, it's nice, but we don't use the AWS, so who cares, right? So that's another reason why I tell you guys to not hold back just because, I can't apply until I get this certification. No, go for it, right? There's still a lot of things you could be doing, right? So keep that in mind, guys, that don't let it hold you back. And there's plenty of companies that, not necessarily they don't want to see you have experience with AWS, but it's not going to hold the weight that you think it is when you go in for the interview or when you're pursuing that job. They may not weigh it nearly as heavily as you think they might. So keep that in mind. Okay, guys, I'm keeping an eye on the clock. I didn't give my 10-minute warning. I'm only going to stream here for a couple more minutes. In fact, I think Instagram's going to cut me off in another couple minutes here. So I see more questions in the chat. I cannot tell you how guilty I feel when there are still comments in the chat. I'm sorry that we didn't get to everybody. I still see some YouTube comments that I didn't get to. I'm so sorry for that. But Instagram cuts off streams at an hour. Can you believe that? Who does that? But my Instagram streams are limited to an hour, so that's why I only stream for an hour. I'm sorry, guys. But thank you so much for being here. Really enjoy these chats with all of you, and I'm open to your feedback, guys. Right? I mean, coming back to my opening note, a data scientist, is open to the process, right? So part of the process is feedback. So I'd love to hear your feedback, guys. If there's something I can do to improve these streams, if you want them more often, you want them less often, Please let me know. I would love that feedback. Send me a message. My messages are open on Instagram and on X. I would love to hear from you, but really glad to see so much interest worldwide on data science. And, as I said before, I'm a new content creator. I've only been at this since May. So really happy for all the support here. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the time. I hope you stay safe. Take care of your families. Be safe out there. And I'll see you next time. I stream again. I stream every Sunday and Thursday. So I'll see you on Thursday. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you then.